Hi everyone, and welcome back to Fussy Botany. In this presentation, we are diving into the fascinating world of cereals, the cornerstone of human civilization and the primary source of nutrition for billions of people. From the ancient domestication of wheat in the Fertile Crescent to the modern global dominance of maize and rice, cereals are the more than just crops, they are the bedrock of our food systems. We will explore their profound historical significance, economic and agriculture importance, and then we will get into the detailed discussion on the three major cereals that feed our world, that is wheat, rice, and maize. Join us as we uncover why these unassuming grasses hold such a powerful and central role in feeding the world. Let us get started. The cereals or the edible grains derived from the cultivated grasses belong to the family Poaceae. They are also commonly known as cereal grains. The term cereal comes from the name of the Roman goddess of agriculture, that is Ceres. A cereal grain is botanically a caryopsis, a fruit where the seed coat is fused with the pericarp. It consists of bran, a hard outer layer rich in dietary fibers, vitamin B, and minerals. Germ, the embryo of the plant containing healthy fats, vitamin E, antioxidants, and B vitamins. The endosperm is the largest part, primarily composed of starch. The cereals are an important source of carbohydrates, primarily starch, which provides significant source of energy. They also contain protein, dietary fibers, fats, vitamins, and minerals. The cereals have been a staple food for humans for thousands of years and continue to be a major source of sustenance worldwide even today. The cereals hold immense historical significance as they were instrumental in the transition of human societies from nomadic hunter-gatherer lifestyle to settled agricultural civilizations. This shift, known as the Neolithic Revolution, which laid the groundwork for the development of modern societies. The domestication of wild cereals such as wheat in the Middle East, Fertile Crescent, rice in Asia, and maize in America marked a pivotal moment in human history. Around 10,000 to 12,000 years ago, early farmers began to selectively breed these wild grasses to create crops with more desirable traits like larger grains and non-shattering seed heads. This ability to produce a reliable and surplus food source allowed the people to stop their constant search for food and establish permanent settlements. The surplus of food provided by the cereal agriculture led to the population boom and the ability to support larger communities. This stable food supply enabled specialized division of labor, as there not everyone was required to farm. This specialization and the need to manage the resources, land and water for large-scale agriculture led to the development of complex social structure, governments and the first cities. Many of the world's greatest ancient civilizations from Mesopotamia and Egypt to the Aztec and Inca empires were founded on the cultivation of specific cereal crops. The cereals became the backbone of early economies. They were used as a form of currency and were central to trade networks. Cultural traditions, rituals, and myths also grew around these crops. The importance of the grains is reflected in ancient art, religious ceremonies, and festivals celebrating the harvest. Their long shelf life and made them ideal for storing and transporting, which was crucial for feeding the armies and expanding empires. The Roman Empire, for example, was heavily dependent on the grain imports from the colonies in North Africa to feed its vast population. This historical reliance cemented their status not just as a food but as a strategic asset. The world of cereal crops can be divided into two main categories, that is major cereals and minor cereals. This classification is primarily based on the global production volume and their role as staple food for a large portion of the world's population. The major cereals are the most widely produced and consumed cereal crops on a global scale. They include wheat, maize, and rice. The minor cereals have lower global production volume but are of immense regional importance. They include barley, sorghum, oats, millets, rye, and triticale. The first major cereal for discussion in this episode is wheat, and the botanical name is Triticum aestivum. Wheat is a cereal grain native to the Fertile Crescent region of the Middle East. Wheat's wide ancestors like Enron and Emmer originated in the hills of Fertile Crescent, which spans modern-day Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, Jordan, Israel, Palestine, and southeastern Turkey. These wild grasses grew naturally in these regions and were part of the diet of early hunter-gatherer societies. The domestication of the wheat was a process of selective breeding that transformed wild grasses into the high-yielding crop we know today. Initially, humans simply collected wild wheat grains. The wild variety had a major drawback, that is, its head would shatter upon ripening, scattering the seeds. The farmers began planting the seeds of the plant with a slight genetic mutation that prevented the head from shattering. This made the grain easier to harvest. Over time, Incron and Emmer naturally hybridized with the other wild grasses. This natural cross pollination produced Triticum aestivum, a hexaploid wheat with higher yield and better milling properties. This process of intentional cultivation and natural hybridization created a reliable food source, enabling the rise of permanent settlements and the Neolithic revolution. The wheat plant is an annual grass with several key botanical features. The root system is fibrous type with both seminal and nodal roots. The seminal roots emerge from the seed and provide initial support, while the nodal roots develop later from the stem and are responsible for most of the plant's nutrients and water absorption. The leaves are long and narrow. Each leaf consists of sheath that wraps around the stem and blade. A key identifying feature is the presence of auricles, small, hairy, claw-like projections at the base of the leaf blade, where it meets the stem. The stem or the culm is typically hollow and jointed. These joints or the nodes are solid and are the points where the leaves and the tillers emerge. The hollow internodes between the nodes give the plant its characteristic structure. The wheat plant's reproductive structure is a compact, unbranched terminal spike, also known as the head or ear. The spike is composed of small floral units called the spikelets, which are arranged in a zigzag pattern along the main axis of the spike. Wheat is primarily a self-pollinating plant, where each flower within the spikelet contains both male and female parts, allowing for self-fertilization, which contributes to the stability of the cultivated varieties. Wheat is a C3 plant. This type of photosynthesis is well suited for the temperate, cooler, and wetter climates, where the water stress is less of a concern. The final leaf that emerges before the spike is called as the flag leaf. This leaf is disproportionately important for the plant's productivity as it provides significant portion of the carbohydrate needed to fill the developing grains. The fruit of the wheat plant is caryopsis, a type of dry single-seeded fruit where the fruit wall is fused with the seed coat. The second major cereal for discussion in this episode is rice, and the botanical name is Oryza sativa. Oryza sativa, or the Asian rice, is native to Yangtze River basin of central China. Its domestication began around 9,000 years ago, making it one of the earliest domesticated cereal crops. The rice's wild ancestor, that is Oryza rufipogon, is a perennial grass that grows on the tropical and subtropical regions of Asia, Australia, and parts of Africa. The domestication of the rice was a process of selective breeding that transformed a wild plant into a high-yielding crop dependent on the human cultivation. The wild rice shatters its grains easily upon ripening to disperse its seeds. Early farmers selected and cultivated plants with a natural genetic mutation that prevented the grains from shattering, making them much easier to harvest. Wild rice seeds have dormancy period to survive until the next growing season. The domesticated rice lost its trait, allowing the farmers to plant and harvest crops in the single predictable season. Farmers selectively bred the plants to have larger grains and higher number of tillers, which significantly increased the overall yield of the plant. So, from its origin, the rice cultivation spread throughout the East and Southeast Asia, adapting to the different environments and climates, eventually becoming a staple food for a larger portion of the world's population. The rice plant is a unique cereal with the key features that allow it to thrive in the diverse environments, particularly in the waterlogged conditions of paddies. Its botanical and physiological characteristics have been shaped by long history of human cultivation and adaptation. The most distinctive feature of the rice is its ability to grow in flooded conditions. This is made possible by the specialized tissue called aerenchyma, which forms air-filled channels within the roots, stems, and leaves. While many other plants would suffocate, rice aerenchyma allows it to flourish and outcompete most weeds in flooded paddies. The rice plants are known for their strong tillering ability. The tillers are the side shoots that emerge from the base of the plant. A single rice plant can produce numerous tillers, each with its own root system and inflorescence. This profuse branching allows a small number of transplanted seedlings to quickly establish a dense canopy, maximizing the grain yield per unit area. The reproductive structure of the rice plant is a panicle, the branched cluster of flowers located at the top of the culm. Each branch of the panicle bears multiple spikelets, which are the basic floral units. A unique feature of the rice is that each spikelet is typically contains only one fertile floret. This floret, after self-pollination, develops into the grain, which is enclosed by a protective husk, that is lemma and palea. Unlike maize, which uses the highly efficient C4 photosynthesis pathway, rice is a C3 plant. While this makes it less efficient at converting sunlight into a biomass in very hot and dry conditions, it is well suited for its preferred humid and often cooler environments. The C3 pathway is effective in waterlogged conditions where the rice is traditionally grown. The most cultivated rice varieties are annuals, completing their life cycle from the seed to harvest in a single growing season. However, some varieties, particularly in tropical regions, are ratoon crops or short-lived perennials, meaning they can produce a second or even a third harvest from the same root system after the initial crop is cut. This feature is a valuable adaptation for small-scale farmers, reducing the labor for the land preparation and planting. The final major cereal for discussion in this episode is maize. The botanical name is Zea maize. Maize, also known as the corn, is a tall, stout grass. It was domesticated by the indigenous peoples in Mexico about 9,000 years ago from a wild grass called teosinte. The domestication involves the early farmers began selecting and planting teosinte plants with a mutation that resulted in the kernels being partially exposed, making them easier to harvest. They also selected for the plants where the kernels remain attached to the cob rather than shattering and scattering upon maturity. Over time, through continuous selective breeding, the plant's structure was dramatically altered. The branching side stalks of a teosinte were suppressed, leading to a single main stalk with larger solitary ears. The kernels also became much larger and softer. This long process of human intervention resulted in the large, high yielding maize cob we know today, a plant that is entirely dependent on humans for its survival. Maize is a remarkable plant with several key features that distinguishes it from other cereal crops. These features relate to its morphology, reproductive strategy, and physiological characteristics, all of which contribute to its status as a global agricultural powerhouse. A defining feature of the maize is its monoecious nature, meaning it has separate male and female flowers on the same plant. The male inflorescence or the tassel is a large branched cluster of flowers that grows at the very top of the plant. It produces abundant pollen. The female inflorescence or the ear is located on the shorter stalk that grows from the leaf axil lower down the stem. Each ear is dense cluster of kernels protected by a layer of modified leaves called husks. Maize is a wind pollinated. The feathery thread-like structures that emerge from the tip of the ear known as the silks or the stigmas of the female flowers. They are designated to catch the pollen grains carried by the wind from the tassel. Each silk must be pollinated by a kernel to develop. The plant shows a C4 photosynthesis, which is a highly efficient form of photosynthesis. This process particularly advantageous in hot, sunny and dry climates because it minimizes the water loss while maximizing carbon dioxide intake. This physiological adaptation allows maize to be exceptionally productive in a wide range of environments and gives it higher yield per hectare than many other grain crops. Unlike wheat and many other grasses, the stem of the maize plant or the culm is typically stout and solid, providing a strong structural support for the heavy ears. The stem is unbranched with leaves ears growing from the nodes. This architecture contributes to the plant's ability to grow tall and stand upright. Maize exhibits a huge amount of genetic diversity, which has been exploited through breeding to create a vast number of varieties. The key features that vary widely include the kernel colors, kernel type, and plant size. The kernel color includes maybe yellowish, white, red, blue, or even multicolored. The kernel type include the varieties classified into types like dent corn, flint corn, popcorn, and sweet corn, each with a different endosperm composition and use. The plant size can be ranged from small dwarf varieties to the towering stock depending upon the cultivar. A unique feature of the maize is its reliance on humans for their propagation. Unlike its wild ancestor teosinte, modern maize ears are enclosed in husks, which prevents the kernels from naturally dispersing. This makes it impossible for the plant to spread its seeds without human intervention, a result of thousands of years selective breeding for the traits that are beneficial to agriculture. The kernel types in maize. There are several types of maize in each cultivated for a specific purpose. Dent corn is the most widely grown variety in the world, characterized by a small dent or dimple on the kernel. It is a high in starch and primarily used for animal feed and industrial products like ethanol. The sweet corn variety is most people consume as a vegetable. It is harvested while the kernels are still tender and high in sugar content. Flint corn, known for its hard, glossy outer shell and high starch content. It's popular in regions like South America and is used for to make the products like cornmeal. The popcorn, a unique variety with the hard endosperm and a specific moisture content that allows the kernel to pop when heated, creating a fluffy edible snack. Waxy corn contains a high amount of amylopectin starch, making it useful for industrial applications requiring specific starch properties. All right, we have journeyed through the world of major cereals, from the golden fields of wheat to the sprawling paddies of rice and towering stalks of maize. It is clear that these three grains are more than just food, they are the very pillars of global food security. And their story is intertwined with the history of human civilization itself. Their sheer scale of production, incredible versatility, and ability to be stored for long periods have allowed societies to grow, populations to thrive, and cultures to flourish. As we look to the future, the study of these major cereals remains more critical than ever. With the challenges like climate change and growing global populations, understanding the botany, genetics, and agricultural practice of wheat, rice, and maize is essential. By continuing to innovate and improve how we cultivate these powerhouses, we can ensure a sustainable and food secure future for everyone. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Fussy Botany. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like and subscribe for more botanical adventures.